Hi everyone, welcome back. Today's video is going to be for anybody who's pursuing a medical career, either if you've already completed your MBBS or somebody who's yet to do an MBBS and is deciding on it. So let me introduce myself. I'm Dr. Priya, a practicing pediatrician in India, and I'm going to speak based on my experience and what I've observed and heard from other people who are doctors right now. So let me start with a big disclaimer. This video is not meant to discourage or encourage anyone to become a doctor. I simply want to put down the facts about life as a doctor, because often being a doctor is glamorized so much, or there are some facts about the field that are not well known to people before they get into this field. All I want to do is shed light on life as a doctor, and it is completely up to you to decide if this is meant for you or not. It is very possible that my experience could have been very different from someone else's, so please be kind in the comments. So let me start with the pros of being a doctor. The first thing, of course, is why most people get into the field, is that this is one of the only fields, apart from, of course, nurses and paramedical staff, where you literally get to deal with life and save lives. So at the end of the day, the work you do is definitely impacting someone in a positive way, and that always gives an emotional and a mental satisfaction at the end of a workday. So if that is something you're passionate about, then yes, being a doctor would be great for you. The second is the ease of finding a job. In most cases, it's quite easy to find a job as a doctor, let's say as compared to someone in a corporate environment, because especially India has a very low doctor to patient ratio or doctor to population ratio. So there is always a need for doctor whether you live in a big city or in a remote small town, and it also gives you the flexibility to live in a small town or in a metro city as per whatever you prefer. Now, I have moved across probably 5 to 6 cities during the span of my career, and whenever I've had to look for a job, it has been fairly easy to walk in, and every interview that I gave, they selected me. And this is not to say that I was such a great candidate, but there is such a need for doctors that there is a very, very good chance that you would find a job wherever you are. Another pro is the admiration that you would get from your patients or their relatives, although this is dwindling a little now in recent times. But again, there are some people who are so appreciative of the way you've impacted their lives that sometimes they come with little appreciative gifts from their end, produced from their farms, small little things from their business that are always so cute and so sweet, and it's very heart touching. And not to mention the blessings that you receive from these people, I do believe that it does make a person's life better. Now let's come to the reality, or the con side of it. First is the long training period, and it has gotten a lot harder and longer in recent times, because first you have to do your MBBS and then a specialization, and often these days another super specialization, and these very rarely go in congruency. Oftentimes you have to take gaps to prepare for the next exam. Yes, often people think that they can do an MBBS and start working right after that, and of course you can, but know the reality that these days it is tougher to climb up in ranks with just an MBBS, and secondly, salary that one gets as an MBBS doctor is not always the best. In fact, there have been so many articles where people are being offered shamefully low salaries for an MBBS doctor. That's not to say that an MBBS doctor is not competent. They very much are. But workplaces and society in general have really diminished the importance they give to them. Of course, this differs from place to place, and there are some central government hospitals which do pay fairly. So it again depends on where you would end up after your MBBS. Now let's talk about the working hours. This is where it's very different from someone in a non-medical field. There are no weekends off. The funny thing is that I learned quite late that other people get weekends off. I didn't know that, at least until you become an established consultant. There are no Sundays off, there are no Saturdays off. Secondly, it is unfortunately normalized for doctors to be working 24, 36, 48 hours at a stretch. I myself have been part of an institute where 60 hours was one continuous shift. I'm not joking, I have colleagues to attest to that. So be prepared for 24, 36 hour shifts where you might not get sleep, your health might get neglected, especially during residency. In the past, a lot of people would go in unprepared for this. It is not as glamorous as Grey's Anatomy makes it look like. It's not. Now let's talk about financial freedom and how long it might take for one to achieve that. Let me make one thing very clear. If you come from a background where maybe you are financially struggling, and you are looking at becoming a doctor as a way to improve that situation, let me tell you, that might not be the best idea, because it's going to take at least a decade for a person to start having a profitable salary. Most people who start financially thriving right away as soon as they finish their post-graduation are often those people who already have an established hospital or a clinic, usually passed on as a legacy from their family. If you are a first-generation doctor, or you do not come from a background where you have an already prepared setup, there is going to be a requirement for a lot of investment from your part, and also the salaries that doctors are paid even after post-graduation are quite pitiable. For context, somebody who has completed their MD or DNB, the average salary of that person is almost as good as, let's say, a non-medical person who is just 2 years into their job. That's the comparison. This is after you've already given about 6 to 8 years of your youth into the field. I very recently learned about a term called return on investment. If you're not aware of it, it means the amount of money that you're putting into a degree or course. How long will it take for you to recover that? Medical training has become extremely expensive, especially in private medical colleges. In government medical colleges, it's still affordable, but do remember that if you are going to a private medical college, it might take you years and years to recover the money that you have put into it. So keep that in mind. Now, there is another matter that requires discussion, and that is the recent surge of incidents of extreme violence against doctors. I myself have witnessed it right before my eyes. This is not something that just happens to somebody else. It's not कि हाँ किसी के साथ होगा हमारे साथ नहीं होगा. No, it's a very real threat. For some reason, even today, patients or certain relatives do think that it's okay to be aggressive or violent towards a doctor. And why wouldn't they? There is no law protecting doctors, or maybe it exists on paper, but it is a long, tedious and money-consuming process to get the law to act against these perpetrators. This has been a very disheartening thing that's been happening in recent times, and honestly, it has discouraged a lot of people from continuing their profession as a doctor even after they were established. I'm not gonna lie, it has been scary for me as well, and sometimes it has made me question whether I should continue in this. I'm gonna say it, especially being a female and relatively younger, I have noticed that people tend to be more aggressive or just assume that they can come and be disrespectful towards you. Another thing that I have noticed is, and this is where I would actually like for all the fellow doctors to please chime in, I've noticed this shift in the last about 5 years, that there is an increasing number of patients who have started being so disrespectful in the way they speak to doctors just in day-to-day interactions. I'm not even talking about times when it's hard, when the patient is really serious and they're emotionally overwhelmed. I'm talking about just a basic OPD interaction. It has become so common now for patients to be so extremely rude and disrespectful, unprovoked. And also I've discussed this with so many colleagues of mine, and they have reported a similar experience. Another important thing that you need to know, and I only discovered once I started working, was a major difference between non-medical and medical employees. I worked across major cities, small towns, corporate hospitals, non-corporate hospitals. We are not provided health insurance or certain allowances as an employee that a lot of corporate employees do get right as they begin as a fresher. Ask any corporate friend of yours. Their company usually provides health insurance for them. Again, if somebody's had a different experience, please let me know in the comments. But I have noticed this across India. I haven't seen a hospital yet that does that for their employees. The attitude is, you're on your own, take care of yourself, just come and work. Another fact you do need to know is that you will be studying throughout most of your 20s, sometimes into your mid-30s. And unfortunately, because of that, a lot of people miss out on many family and friend events. I sure did, thinking that I'll always have another chance. And often those chances start drying out as you get older. Of course, there will be newer things to do and different things to do, but those exact opportunities never present themselves again. So as much as possible, try to be a part of your family and friends' lives and do things for yourself, as hard as it might seem. And if it is very important for you to have a work-life balance, as it should be, maybe choose a branch that aligns with that lifestyle, because I'm telling you, choosing an emergency or a busy branch, yes, it is thrilling in the beginning, yes, it saves lives, but it takes a major toll on your health, your mental health, your personal life, your everything. So keep that in mind when you make this decision. So that's all for today. I would love to hear from other doctors on points that they have experienced or some things that they have not experienced. Please share it in the comments, and it might help people who are aspiring to be doctors. I hope this was helpful, and if you are planning to be a doctor, all the very best for it. Bye bye.